Hello, friends. I was just reading your comments here on on the channel. Oh, wait a minute. I don't see myself. Maybe it's the latency. Oh, okay. Now I can see myself. Good.
Hello, friends.
So there is almost like a minute delay between what I say until you hear it. See? There I am. I was just reading your comments. Hello, hello. Chris Vai. Agafia Italiana. Armands, yeah, I read your feedback here. You always have to be sure about yourself, even if you are not sure. This is what we are going to talk about today. You know, sometimes you have to fool yourself. There is no other choice. Heretofore, Manuela, has the line started? There it is. Good. Greeting from Maryland. Mark! I was just reading again in The Economist a whole long article about South Africa, the government, the power failures, the whole political and I guess otherwise situation. But you know, South Africa is maybe is a little bit on the extreme side, but I think the whole world is out of control. Maybe we'll touch on it today. Taylor, India. Wow, must be really early or middle of the night there, or very late at night. Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot set up my timing here to fit everybody because some people are on the other side of this globe. You know, it's funny, I was just reading the other day about what is actually in the center of the Earth, some kind of a liquid iron core, which is like 2 kilometers or something in diameter. You know, we explore space and we look 13 or 12 billion years into the past, but we don't really know what's inside our own Earth. And this is very similar. You know, we know everything about everybody, but we know very little about ourselves, right? It's very similar. All right. Let me just make sure everything works here. Audio, maybe I can make it a little bit louder here. Just give me a minute. Get the volume a bit higher. Okay. Good. So, today I really wanted to talk about the second pillar of our reality. And you know what the first one is? It's personality. And I talked about personality quite extensively. And the second pillar of our reality is feeling in control. Now keep in mind, I'm not saying being in control, because being in control is practically not possible in the big scheme of things. And the reason for it is because our reality is basically based on uncertainty. So you cannot be in control. There is even arguments whether God is in control, right? So the key is the feeling of being in control. And I really want to expand a lot on it and give you many examples and metaphors and so on, because it's probably one of the most important factors in being well, being healthy, being able to achieve goals, even being able to manifest. Like, there's absolutely no way you can manifest anything if you feel out of control, right? So I will give you all the examples, what I mean by feeling out of control, and then I'll give you some ways to go back into control, to feel in control. And, as usual, these things are not complicated. They are very, very simple. It's just that we need somebody to put the light on it, and this is what I want to do. Otherwise, we just don't see it. It's not because it's complicated or hard, or actually nothing is complicated or hard. We just need to realize that, first of all, it's a problem, right? So I would also say that from all the other problems it causes, I think this is the number one cause for all physical ailments. And in previous videos, I gave you examples like when I got these papers to go for court by my ex-wife at the time, I got the flu in a very serious way the same day, and the opposite is also true, So, for example, claustrophobia is a feeling out of control. I don't know if you realize that, but what claustrophobia is really, and after I had a stroke back in 2009, and I'll speak about it because it's also related here, but I acquired this horrible claustrophobia. I never had anything like that. I could actually work on a submarine. I had no problem. But after that, and what it feels like, I can say it from, first-hand experience, is that the loss of control. Like, for example, if after I had the stroke, I needed to do an MRI, and there was absolutely no way I could get into that machine and lie down and be strapped or whatever, because I felt out of control, that I wouldn't be able to jump and get out of there, and this brings a panic attack, and then you cannot do it, right? So this is also a feeling out of control. Another example, on the other side of the spectrum, blaming external circumstances for things that happen to you, you're basically giving away control. Because what you are saying is, I don't really have control. It's my dad, it's my mom, it's God, it's the raccoon, whatever, right? And you really have to take full responsibility for everything in order to feel in control. If you want to manifest, you need to take full responsibility for everything that happens, because that's the only way you can say, oh, I can actually manifest, I can create my reality. Because if some external circumstances create your reality, then you cannot create one, right? For example, many times we don't want to get out of bed. And we say, oh, it's because I have nothing to do, there's only bad news, It's mainly because we feel out of control. So we rather not be in a position that we need to control anything. We just stay in bed, right? I read some years ago about this experiment they did at the dentist office. They took a group of people and they just had the regular treatment. They had I should say the other 50%, they received some kind of a push button, and they were told that if it hurts or if they feel uncomfortable, if they press on it, then the dentist will immediately make sure, to either stop or do it in a different way. So the 50% that did not receive that thing, they didn't really enjoy this. Well, you never enjoy the dentist, but they felt, scared and in pain and so on. And the other 50% who received that thing, which, by the way, was connected to nothing, they had a much more positive experience going through the treatment. They described it in a much more positive way. And, it's a placebo. Like I said, it was not connected to anything, but it shows how important it is for us to feel in control. I want to... I'll tell you a personal story. That's why I brought that stroke thing, So like I said, and probably many of you already heard it at least once, back in 2009, it was New Year's Eve, midnight, and I had a stroke. My vision went basically out the window. And, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but when the next day at the hospital, I was told, I actually received it in writing, that because the area where the blood clot was is the entrance to the brain, it's the first place it goes in, that clot, there is a very high chance, they put it at something like 60 or 70 or something percent, that I will have another stroke because that clot will continue into my brain, and that would be much more severe. So what happened, it's strange though, they never put me on blood thinners or anything. Anyway, as a result, I was afraid to walk. I was afraid to get out of the house. I was afraid to drive. I was afraid to, because I felt totally out of control, because a stroke is something that you don't feel, it's like an earthquake. It just happens. Like there is no warning. There is no pain. There is nothing. It just all of a sudden, your vision is gone. And I assume anything that happens, it depends what area it affects in the body, it just happens. Right? So it's the scariest thing, because you continuously think it's happening. Anything, like you get a bit dizzy or you get a bit... And like I said, I even, when I started to drive, maybe a week after, and I was driving with my youngest son, Eric, I showed him how to take control of the car from the passenger seat just in case I have a stroke. I told him, you hold the steering wheel and try to bring the car to the side and use the parking brake to slow it down. It's crazy, right? But as soon as I found an explanation for that stroke, and at that time my explanation was that I was going in the wrong direction, trying to get into Kabbalah, and that wasn't my, I told you the story with the false treasure. As soon as that explanation took hold, and I believed it, I got rid of all my fears. Like my life became normal. That was maybe 2 weeks after the stroke. My life became totally normal. Like I wasn't worried anymore. Why? Because I felt in control. I felt that by doing what I think I was supposed to do, not dealing with Kabbalah and trying to expand my theories and my philosophies and so on about God, and this is my destiny, this is what I need to do, and I will never get a stroke. And guess what? This is now 2009, so this is 14 years later, or almost 14 years later. And so this is what I mean by feeling control, okay? You don't, like I said, you don't have to be in control. It's how you program yourself, how you think. That many in the Jewish faith, there is this, I guess in English it's called repentance. I think it's called repentance. In the Jewish faith, it's not really repentance. It's not like coming and saying, I sinned and then I ask for forgiveness. It's in Hebrew, it's actually called coming back to God or something like that, coming back with an answer to God. And what it is, there's thousands of people. They are totally, let's say they are total atheists, and they go to the other extreme. They become Orthodox Jews. Like they dress like Orthodox Jews. They perform all the mitzvah, all the commandments, and there is thousands of those, especially now. And I think the reason for it is that it makes them feel in control. Why? Because if you believe that there is a God, and God has a plan for the world, for the universe, for you, and it doesn't really matter much what you do as long as you don't sin, then everything will be fine. God always knows what to do. You basically transfer that control to God, and as soon as you believe in that God and all the attributes, then you don't have a problem, right? I went to a cemetery in Israel, and I was looking for my mom's grave. At that time, the first time, this cemetery is huge. It's almost like a city. and you can't find anything. It's, there is numbers, 14B, and I'll go look for it. It's not marked properly. So I went to the office for the first time, and I found a rabbi there, and I said, can you tell me where is this location? And he said, you know what, come, I'll walk with you. He was a nice man. And we started walking, and, started talking, and he told me that his little girl, she was maybe, I think he said 12 or 13, she was run over by a car recently and died and killed. And I go, my kids were maybe that age at that time, and I said, how can you, continue and live with this? This is horrible. And he said to me, look, I'm religious, I believe in God, and I believe that God gives and God takes. And I believe that anybody has a mission in this world, right? And once they complete their mission, they go back to God. And my girl, she completed that mission, whatever it was, and she went back to God. And, this gives me peace. So it's another way of, religion makes you feel in control, right? Because you transfer that control to God. I would even say, I would go as far as saying that the whole idea of the biblical God, just trying to secure the microphone here, it's moving on me. The whole idea of the biblical God, why we had that, and why we, this whole Torah and everything, part of it is because God, the programmer, obviously knows our nature. We are very intelligent, and we have amazing imagination and ability to think. And if we did not have, especially those days, because today we have science, we have other things, but those days there was no such thing, right? So people needed to have that feeling of control. And if there wasn't, let's say that the Bible didn't exist. I was actually thinking about it the other day. If the Bible didn't exist, we wouldn't have a God. This is where the idols and everything came from, right? Because we needed that feeling that something is controlling this reality. That it's not just a random thing and just like a stroke. It can just hit us. We needed that feel as soon as we started to be, I would say, more intelligent, more aware, wherever it was 10,000 years ago or some other time. We needed to have the feeling of control. And I think the Bible and like I said, the biblical God and this whole, the Torah, the whole process was to supply that, to give us that tool in order for us to be able to deliver back what the programmer was looking, right? Which is experiences, especially spiritual and emotional experiences. We wouldn't be able to create it if we didn't have the feeling that we are in control. And that's why I told you all these stories about religion and religious people and how they think, right? Now, I don't know, I cannot emphasize even enough how important that is for you to feel in control. And, another thing that I actually wanted to ask you, this is more of a, to fulfill my curiosity, is, current events. How many of you actually are watching what's happening in the world in the big picture? Like, China, the US, Russia, Ukraine, North Korea, Middle East, like all the Iran, all those dynamics that happen on the larger scale and may affect our fate just like that, It's like a stroke. If Putin, decides that, he had enough, and just like, I don't know how many of you know the story, but German Wings was a German company, I think subsidiary of Lufthansa, and an Airbus 320, one of the pilots, he was the first officer, he He waited until the captain went to the washroom. He locked the door so the captain cannot come back. And he crashed the plane with all the passengers in it, just because he decided to commit suicide. So if Putin decides to do something like this tomorrow, this is a stroke for the world, right? Like, so in some ways, if you follow these things and you think about it, it also brings a sense of being out of control, unless you are religious and you believe, that God will save you. I said many times that there are rules in this reality, and Putin or Xi of China or whatever, this North Korea, Kim Jong, I can never remember his name, they will not be able to do it, right? And that gives me a sense of control, because I cannot prove that this is true, even though I believe in it 100%, but it gives me a sense of control. And otherwise I wouldn't be able to function, because I am like overthinker, and I would think about it all the time. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I wouldn't be able to function, because what's the point if the world can get a stroke like that? All right, so let's look now for solutions, tools to deal with it. The most powerful and the most practical, and probably the only one you need, is to take action, to be on the move. And I'll give you an example. If you say run out of money and you have this 10 credit cards and you owe 10,000, 20,000 each, and they start pushing and sending it to all these collection agencies. And I'll put the phone in front of me so I can see myself. And it's just spiraling, right? Because now they charge you 19 or 29% interest, and every month this debt is going up by maybe 2%, which is a lot of money. If you owe 100,000, then 2,000 every month, more, and you feel totally out of control. But if you decided to take action, right, and you say, okay, let me see what I can do about it. So now you go to some, you see some experts in bankruptcy, see what the consequences are and how that works, what it's all about, because no one of us knows really what is the process of bankruptcy. We know there is such a thing, right? But we don't know exactly what it is. And every country has different rules and different laws. And the next thing you go and you say, find agencies that negotiate with the credit card companies, and you make arrangements that you will pay a minimal amount, but they will stop, harassing you, and they will stop charging you this kind of interest. Maybe they will cut it in half or even more. So as soon as you start doing it, you start to feel in control, because now you're dealing with it, right? You're taking action. The process of dealing with what it is that makes you feel out of control puts you back, feeling-wise, in control. So whenever you feel like it, it's like, I said that, I think, again, in previous videos, it's very hard for me to say things that I didn't say before, but I'm trying, is that any problem, the way I said it is that you cannot fix, I think, everything you face. But you have to face it in order to, or maybe it goes like, you cannot fix anything you don't face. You have to face it first, right? So when you feel out of control, you have to face whatever it is that causes you the thing, and then you deal with it. And that will put you back and give you back the sense of control. And I highly recommend that if you have issues that up until today you did not relate to being out of control or feeling out of control, you should go and do an inventory of all your problems, whether it's health or issues with other people, or issues with achieving goals, or issues with, go and check if you have any of this kind of feeling out of control. And if you do, then, do something about it and start to feel that you are acting and start to feel back in control. So, I just don't know how to make it strong enough for you to understand how important that is. And now I have a question, and I need a favor from you. This is something that I want. It's like I need your feedback, because I have no idea how you feel about it. Like I see people, I meet people on Zoom. This is kind of a business became for me now, on both my websites, Talk for Life, and this new one. I get a blackout sometimes. I'm thinking about too many things at the same time. High strategy solutions, and I was wondering if you had a choice to, let's say that I had a program of say 10 weeks, 10 meetings to talk and deal with personality and being in control. Would you be more comfortable and maybe go only that way on one-on-one, or would you be okay to have a group of 5 people, let's say, and meet with a group? Because remember, you would have to talk about lots of personal things, right? So I just want to see your input, because I'm not sure that people would actually be ready to discuss this kind of things in a group, even if it's a very small group. But on the other hand, in a group, just like in our focus group here, you get much more wisdom and much more input than you would get on one-on-one, because then everybody brings their experience and you can learn much more. So I would like to get your input on that one, maybe in the comments. And now I will leave this being in control, and I want to just quickly go over 2 other topics which are not necessarily related, but very good for you and for everybody. And is number 1, I noticed that many people, when you talk to them or you tell them a story, again, I may be repeating myself, but doesn't matter, it's important. When I tell them something, tell them a story or tell them something I read, they don't really listen to understand or to comprehend what I'm talking about. They actually, while I'm talking, they build an answer. They already design an answer for me, and depends on their personalities, but usually they will come up with a more powerful story on the same topic, right? So if I said that I saw a tank, they will tell me, oh, we saw a whole army. And they miss the whole point of what I was trying to say. So make sure that when somebody talks to you, listen to understand. Don't listen and think about what you're going to reply with. Don't worry about that. Because even if you don't reply and keep quiet, that's okay. But if you just reply with something to say, oh, I have a better story, then if it's bad for you, and it's bad for your relationships, and it's bad for everything. The other thing I want to tell you, and this is because the person that I want to tell you about just passed away. I'm part of a community here. I go every Saturday to the synagogue. It's more of a community thing, right? And one of the people in there, it's like 5-7 years ago, the young guy, relatively. Yes, today would have been 50 when he died, but then he was in his 40s, right? And he was, you know how I say that personality basically determines your destiny, right? He had a very bad personality for this reality. Very bad. He didn't care about anybody except for himself. He had some mental issues, probably, that he believed in all kind of conspiracies and kind of schizophrenia. And eventually I took him under my wing for a year. I tried to set him in business. I even brought a business for him from Israel to import something, doesn't matter. And the whole thing fell apart because he started arguing with me about, he wanted to have the whole thing. He didn't want anybody to tell him what to do. He wanted people to invest, but he wouldn't give them anything. Just totally selfish. And eventually he got to a point where he lived on his own. Nobody knew anything of him. He didn't interact with people because nobody could stand him. And obviously he got into drugs. So I guess most of his social security money and everything went on drugs. And about 10 days ago, he passed away in some hole in the wall that was living in for like $100 a month. And nobody found out he's dead until they started to smell in the vicinity. They started to smell, and they called the police. Now, why am I telling you this story? The reason I'm telling you this is because, we naturally are very judgmental. And what we don't realize is that people are the way they are. It's not because they want to be that way. And I say it all the time, that your personality, you don't choose it. It's a lottery in the sky, and you just get a personality, and it's yours to go through this life. And I think that we have to be more accommodating and more understanding that this is the case. If there's many people we cannot stand. And of course, today, it's this politically correct, so we don't make it public, we don't make it known, which is even worse, right? So we just isolate the person, we don't see the person. But I'm not saying you should connect and be friends with people you cannot stand, but I think that the attitude should change from blaming that person to understanding that this is their bad luck with the personality they got. And then you will treat them in a different way. There's a big difference between looking at somebody and saying, what a piece of, I cannot stand this guy, he's so bad, and there's a big difference between this and saying, I really feel sorry for that person because this is the personality they got. They cannot behave any other way. It's unfortunate. I know that the system says that anybody has control and free will and all that. But this is not true. Because when you get a personality, you have free will, but it's within that personality, and all the decisions and all the thoughts you have are as a result of that personality you have. So it's, I would even go as far as saying that somebody who is a serial killer, I'm not saying he should not be dealt with, right? But it's not really their fault. You can say it's God's fault because that's the personality they got. Just the fact that a personality like this exists, right? That's really not our fault. Anyway, just a thought that I wanted to bring up here. Maybe I hope I explained myself the right way, so I don't think that I'm promoting here, taking away the justice system. But I think it should be different. It should be dealt in a different way. I think that these people should be maybe not the killers, but the ones that are not that severely dysfunctional. They should be taken into some kind of a program to understand their personality and be taught ways how to deal with it. Like Vipassana would be one of those things, right? Something similar. All right. So now it's time to listen to you. I'm going to bring the comments here on the screen. Just give me a second. I bring the comments on my display here, and I will switch this one. Oh, I left it on the color of my shirt. I decided to use this jersey for all my life until somebody tells me that you got tired of it. Okay, why don't you switch to this one here? Yeah, that's the one I actually like. So now we're going to bring the comments here. I hope it works. There we go. Okay, well, it doesn't look like it's working. I got something else on it. Just give me a second. Ecom Live, overlays, camera effects, sound levels. No, I don't. Okay, let's see if I can. I need to bring the comments on the screen. Screen share. Okay, let's see. Ecom Live. Okay, camera effects, sound, scenes, overlays. Huh? Oh, you know what happened? I closed the comments by mistake. Okay. Just a second. I'll bring it back. Okay. Now we have the comments here. So I'm going to now set it up properly. Sorry for this, but I like to have the comments on the screen for you to see as well. Comments, there we go. Okay. It has them in reverse because it's from my other screen. Okay, just a second. I'll fix it. Screen share. Yeah, it's hard. See, now I'm feeling out of control. Because I cannot fix it easy. It's becoming a hassle. Okay, you know what? I'll go back to my normal picture and I'll just bring one comment at a time. Sorry. It just doesn't work for me. So, back to the comments. All right. Vincent, Sami, hello Sami, Margaret, Manuela, Danielle, OB, greetings, Isabella, hello Isabella, Comden. So let's see if I can bring it on the screen. I can, but now it's not visible because it needs to be edited. What a disaster, huh? Let's see if I can edit. If I edit one, then all of them will become nice. So let me just see effects. No effects. Let's change the text color. It's not my day for this thing. Oh, there is the colors. So if I make the things in red, or maybe orange will be nicer. Okay, save. All right, at least this. Maybe I should make it actually green like my shirt. No, then you won't be able to see it. Okay, that actually looks good. So we'll try to make it that way. All right. Sorry for that. So I made it today. Okay. So let's keep going here. Camden, where is Camden? There we go. Mark, can you tell us more about what you mean when you say God is asleep at the moment? Okay. Really what I meant, and again, this is in my those 3 videos that I mentioned last time. the first part of the from nothingness to infinity, and then the four boundaries, and the second part of that from nothingness to infinity. The way I see things is that God, at some point, actually disconnected himself from being God and immersed himself totally in this reality, meaning that he experiences everything through our eyes. And he cannot remember that he is God. Because if he remembers that he is God, then he cannot really experience this reality. It's either that or that. And if you remember, I brought in the past the... let me just enlarge this comment thing. I don't think that you can see it. It's probably too small. I have a hard time to read it on my phone. Just 1 second. See if I can make it bigger here. Of course I can. Size. Okay, let's make it, how about that? Is that better? Oh, we need to make it even bigger. Just give me a second. Let's make it this way. Okay. Now we'll move it a little bit down here. Okay. So because of that, it's really equivalent to God being asleep, because God is not up there. Now I think that this has been changing since 1948, and I will not get into why I brought that particular date. But I think that this has been changing, and God is coming back into, how can I say it, into being conscious of being God. Okay? And we see the results of it. And again, I'm not going to get into it right now, because it has to do with the Torah, and it has to do with the many promises that were made by the biblical God in the Torah, and today we see these things actually happening. And I will talk about it in a different video. But this is really what I meant, that God is asleep. He's not really asleep. It's just because the example that I used. If you want to experience prison, and let's say you have good connections in the South African government, Mark, and you tell them, look, I really want to experience a prison, what it's like to live in a prison, because I want to write a book about it. And they say, oh, no problem, we'll put you into this really horrible prison for 3 days or 4 days. You decide. You can always tell us, we'll take you out of there, and we'll not tell anybody that you actually are here as an observer. And they put you in there. You will not really experience that jail, knowing that you can get out anytime you want, and you are not a real prisoner, right? You'll be able to observe other people, but you will not get the feeling of being in that prison. But on the other hand, if you are flying to Japan, and on the way there was an emergency on the aircraft, and it landed in North Korea, in Pyongyang, whatever it's called, the capital there, right? And a bunch of policemen come on the plane and ask, like, who is Mark Franzen here, right? And they drag you off the plane and say, we know you are a spy, and you are here because you wanted to spy on our leader, and they throw you in jail over there, and you have a quick appearance in court, and they sentence you to 20 years of hard labor, and they throw you in that jail. Then you will feel for sure exactly what it is like being in prison, right? And the same applies to God. He cannot feel really being in this reality with all the emotional experiences unless it looks real. And in order for it to look real, God needs to disconnect himself from being God. He needs to forget. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Can you tell us more about what you mean? Okay. Tell us more about what you mean when you say God is sleeping. Okay, it's the same question. You just put it twice, I guess. Isabella, let's see. We are practice of God's conscious, half consciousness, half physical body. We and God, universe are one. Yeah, that's true in many ways. We are actually just a virtual entity, and we are. But the thing is that the way the program is running, we don't feel that way, right? And if you are in pain, it doesn't help you very much knowing that you are God. Or if God forbid you have something life-threatening, well, this is still you on your own, and you have to deal with it that way. So we know all these things. They are all kind of philosophies and theories. Everything is one, and actually I say it all the time. But, at the end of the day, if you face something life-threatening, then you are on your own. And it's very hard to say, oh, you know what, I'm not going to do anything because, I'm part of God and God is going to deal with it. It's not simple. So in theory, it works. I am not sure looking at the bigger picture is ever going to be helpful. Like you said in your last video, the mind tends towards the negative. Yeah, it's very true, but on the other hand, you cannot be an ostrich and put your hand under the sand, right? That doesn't work either. So, I don't have an answer. I don't have a solution for it, I actually follow the news on the big picture. I subscribe to The Economist, which is, a big picture kind of a news outlet, rather than CNN or something that deals with the events, as they happen. The Economist is more of a strategic analyzer of things. So I subscribe, and I don't read everything, but I read, I like to understand what's going on, because I believe, and maybe that's just me, I believe that I can change it. And in the past, and I'll tell you something very personal here, and I never talk about it because I don't want to come across as talking from the ego, because it's very hard to separate when something that you have done and maybe it's big and it happened, and if you come and tell it, it sounds like you're trying to basically to inflate your ego, say, oh, look. So that's why I never talk about it, because it's that conflict. But I think by now you know me enough so you know that I'm not saying these things. I just feel, for many reasons, I got some very powerful feedback on it too, that when I focus on something, I actually will influence it and cause some big changes in that picture, whatever it is. And I'll give you a couple of examples here, just so you know what I mean. Like, for example, in 2017, I posted actually on Facebook. You can probably go and see it in my on my profile there. I said that the Earth is going to stop. Nothing will be moving here, and and the leaders of this world will realize that they are on the same ride, like everybody else. And then we got the COVID. Another example I'll give you. Back in I don't remember the exact timing, but that probably was around 4 years ago or something like that. And there is a small aircraft manufacturer in Canada called Bombardier. And Bombardier makes small planes for regional kind of jets, propeller, the Dash 4, Dash 5. And they are located in Quebec, between Montreal and Quebec City. And they designed a new plane, a new regional jet. They called it the Model C at that time. Today it's called the Airbus 220. And the reason Airbus basically took them over is because of Boeing. What happened was they basically put all the resources they had, like it was like everything or nothing, into developing that jet. And they got it basically working. They had a test flight, and they got an order from Delta in the US for 100 of those jets, which basically, you know, put them on the map and secured their future, and everything was fine. And then Boeing went to the American government. At that time, it was Trump, so I think it was easy for them. And they said, oh, you know, this Canadian company is subsidized, and, you know, they don't really, they are not fair trade because they are subsidized by the government, and the price is cheap. And the thing is that Boeing really did not have any kind of airplane in that size, so they didn't really compete against Boeing. Boeing, the smallest plane they have is a 737, which is like over 200 passengers, right? This one was less than 100. It's a totally different market. But Boeing decided to kill them. And they actually did, because the American government, the US government, decided to slap 100% duty on that. So the price doubled, so Delta canceled the order, and these guys basically started to go bankrupt. So they were forced to sell the company for probably half of what it's worth to Airbus, and today it's Airbus. And I followed that, and I got really, really, really upset with Boeing. I wish them really, and then you know what happened with Boeing and the 737 MAX. So what I'm saying is, I'm just giving you some examples. It could be just my illusion, just like people have conspiracy theories, I believe, but I have done many of these things, and they always work. So that's why I follow the world events, because I believe that I can influence certain things. Anyway, this is where my piece about, following, whether to follow or not to follow world events. So I give you my reasons why I do follow, but I do appreciate that some people, actually many people, because I always try to ask that question. It's like a survey. I ask people, say, do you follow, current events? And I think the majority of people tell me no, because it just depresses me. All right, let's continue here. OB would prefer one-on-one to group, but still open to the idea of group. Thank you. Yes, elegantna. I don't think God has this 24/7, because where God exists is in nothingness, and there is no time. There cannot be time if there is no matter. Time is only because matter changes. But I don't know. Okay, full mouth, spiritualist. Do you think personality or personality archetypes are related to astrology, in particular the star constellations? Yes, I agree. We need to have more grace and understanding for that. This is actually a very, very good question. And I talked about astrology a number of times here. And the personality is related, and I'll tell you why. It's related because astrology is the face of this reality. So the same as you can read a person by looking at their face, most people can determine whether it's a good person or a bad person or a happy person or a nervous person or a sad, you can tell, even if you're not an expert in face analyzing, but you can, like when you see somebody, you form an opinion, right? And the reason for that is, why do their personality reflects on their face? Because the whole, as somebody said previously here, the whole thing is one, right? And everything is virtual. There is really no physical. The physical is something our brain creates. And the personality, because it's virtual, it shows on this physical face. And the sky is the same way, because everything is virtual, but the stars are physical. So the stars they don't show the personality of the universe, but they show what's happening in the universe, because they are the face of the universe. This is what you see. So they don't determine anything. But when the stars are arranged in a certain way, excuse me, when the stars are arranged in a certain way, whoever is born at that time may get a certain personality that, because it's kind of a cyclish thing, that this arrangement of the stars displays the universe in a certain state. And in that state, the personality that are given are a certain way. And that's why there is a connection between the personality and the stars, the astrology, because everything is one. Okay, but it's, again, it's not because the stars are arranged a certain way you get that personality. It's because the universe is, or this reality is in a certain state, and in that state, this is what happens. The stars are that way, and the personality is that way. So both those things come from the same thing, but they are not causing anything. They are just the effect. Okay? I hope I explained myself. This is kind of tricky. Margaret, one-on-one works better for me. Okay. You like blue glasses, yeah. Thank you. I like seeing your different shirts. I do like them all. Change is good. Yeah, I agree. Change is good. Yeah, you know, I eventually I change everything. It's just like the astrology. It comes in cycles. But I don't think that is any different from this YouTube. You know, it's the same thing. I'm actually broadcasting both on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, just because I can. So Facebook Live, but I don't think. Yeah, no, it's the same thing. It's the same transmission. It goes into two different places, and I really don't know how many people here come from Facebook. Looking on the comments, looks like, at least so far, everybody here, I'm just going to go through all the comments here quickly. Looks like everybody here is on YouTube. I don't see anybody on Facebook. Last time there was a couple of people on Facebook, but right now I don't see it. Okay. Hello, magician. So did you manage to magically manifest any money? If you do, you know, you should teach us all. Not easy. I know it's not easy. You said we cannot change anything unless we face it, but not everything faced can be changed. Thank you. Thank you. That's right. Not everything faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. Thank you. That's what I said. Yeah. The comments are reversed and upside down. Okay, that I hope that was a while ago, not now. I'm sure that you see the comments properly because I have them here on my screen. Yeah, actually, I can see them on my iPhone as well. So I guess that was earlier, yeah, because I brought the comment screen on and it picked up. The reason it was reversed and mirrored is because I'm using a screen which sits in front of my camera. It's a transparent one. It's a one-way kind of mirror, right? So in order for this screen to work, I have an iPad that sits at the bottom and it reflects on a piece of glass. And behind that glass is the camera. So in order for me to see the iPad properly on that glass, I have to mirror it. So the problem is that when I was trying to bring the comment here directly, it doesn't take them from the actual screen. It takes them from the iPad, and the iPad is reversed, so it's mirrored. Anyway, I will fix it for next time. It's very hard to be in control when we're doing this thing. Just 1 second. Why do we have this thing here? That's very strange. Okay. Oh, I think I took it out. Okay. Sorry. The comments are reversed. Okay, let's go to Eddie. Eddie, New Zealand. What time is New Zealand now? Wow, it's also quite early. I think if one of the rules is you can't stop aging, then how do we feel in control of this? And is there action to take to slow reverse aging to look and feel younger? No, you cannot slow the physical aging. All you can do is, you know what it's like? It's like you are riding in a car and it goes very fast. So you can either enjoy the scenery or you can try and let's say you are not the driver and you want to slow the car down. You cannot because somebody else is driving it. But you can either spend your time trying to slow the car and miss all the beautiful scenery on the way, or you can say, you know what? Let the car go whichever way it goes. I'm going to enjoy, you know, because it's going through some amazing areas, some amazing places, some amazing, you know, views, and I'm just going to enjoy. So this is your choice. But you cannot stop aging at this point. You know, I'll tell you something about aging and death and life, which I'll bring it to you from a different angle. Not just to you, to everybody, of course. But since you brought that question, you know that, again, I'm going back to the Jewish faith and Jewish beliefs. So Jews, mostly religious Jews, but probably all Jews, believe in this person called Messiah. And what Messiah is, and I think Christians have their own Messiah, right? It's Jesus. The Messiah is somebody who is going to come. It's always in the future. It's going to come and will fix this world. And, you know, for the Jews, it will fix it for the Jews. It will make them back, you know, the people of God and so on. And they also believe that it will, when the Messiah comes, nobody will die anymore, and all the ones that died will actually get resurrected. They will come back. And you know, when you think about it, it doesn't make sense because you say, okay, there is I actually looked it up, and it says that there were 110 billion people that came here and left, that died. So if we brought back into this world, and probably there is more because they only looked to a certain point. So if we brought back into this world 110 billion people, yeah, I don't think this would work, right? And also people not dying would not work either because the system is not built that way for many reasons. I'm not going to get into it now. But the way I see it, because I also believe in this concept of Messiah, not necessarily the way the religious way, but I believe in it. There is, that's why I say reality is going to change. But what, and actually, yes, nobody will die. But you know why? Because we will realize what death means, and we will realize that you don't really die. You just switch realities. That's all you do. And once you realize that, there is no death. And all the ones that died, you will be able to actually see them all because they are in a different reality that currently you have no access to. But when the reality here changes and you will be able to understand that or know it, actually it's more, you will know it, then death will mean nothing. So that belief in the Messiah, that at that time nobody will die and everybody that died will come back, is actually true in that sense. Because once you realize that death is not real, at least from the perspective we see it today, then nobody dies, right? And nobody ever died. So try to look at it that way, because the physical world has rules, and we cannot at this point overcome those rules. But we can change how we look at it, and then everything will change. And you know what? This is actually very interesting, because I had one of our viewers, I don't know if she's here right now, but she is an amazing. She doesn't probably realize it even. I mean, she doesn't consider herself to be a extremely powerful psychic, but she is. And you know, I met her just through YouTube here, one of the viewers here, and she gave me some, call it, messages from the universe, and very, very, very powerful, very powerful. And one of the things she said to me, she said, you don't have to change the program. All you have to do is create another one within this program. And what I just said actually is exactly this, right? Because instead of changing what you're saying, Eddie, the aging process, if we do what I described before, we create a different program from within, and we change the rules right there. Interesting. Okay, Manuela, I just started reading your email, and because it was very long, I decided to leave it for after this live because I wanted to focus on it. Before live, you know, like 24 hours before, I can't focus on other things, like my mind is already there. And I would do a misservice. Hello, Wesley. I like your picture here. Good one. As far as your question about group versus individual mentoring or meetings, I would prefer a group, but a very small group. Well, that's what I meant. I would never take more than 5 people. 2 or 3, okay. Yeah, and we also probably have to make some matching here, so because not everybody can. Again, we're going back to the personality, right? Am I scary? No, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. It's not scary, it's more intimidating because you feel that you are put on the spot, kind of thing. In a group, you can be more flexible, like you can hide once in a while. I think this is what you mean. Thank you, Obi. Okay, Wesley, I knew you were going to come up with something. Oh, Cora, I am now in Huntington. I lived in Chicago for many years. Okay, you are intelligent enough to tell of real healed teeth, real fish and bread. You are unintelligent to desire money so much that you would be branded a slave product and eat flesh of children. Okay. Very interesting. I don't know if I should consider this spam or... Okay. I am Doug. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Doug. Thank you, Manuel. I just could not figure out how to open it on Facebook, but it doesn't really matter because I just came over to YouTube. Well, you mean it didn't open up on Facebook? You know what? I will go to Facebook while I'm talking to you here and see if I can see anything. Yeah, I guess it's too complicated for me to go to my... maybe I can. Let's see. Shlomo Friedman. Yeah, here I can see myself, but maybe it's for some reason on Facebook it said something about by invitation only. So if you didn't get the invitation, maybe you cannot see it. I have to fix that so it's not by invitation only. Because you see, I can see it right here. It's on Facebook right now in real time. All right. If God returned in 1940, which year did he disengage? Right after in the New Testament? No. He disengaged, I would say, at the end. The New Testament has nothing to do with God, from my perspective, okay? The New Testament has only to do with the Romans and the people that, kind of took Jesus and made him into God. But has nothing to do, again, from my personal perspective, with the programmer God that I'm talking about. So to answer your question, he disengaged, in my opinion, at the end of the Torah, meaning that at some point, after the Israelites arrived at the land of Israel, and they kind of established themselves there, this is where it went. So you're looking about 2,500 years ago, 2,700, but you know, this is all assumptions. And I think that then, if you really want to know, I will, in a minute, I'll show you here, I have a website, like a blog, where I wrote, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 articles, and I actually, the last one is called The King's Story, and I'm sure that some of you read it, and that basically has the whole chronology of God hiding and coming out and the whole thing in a metaphorical way. And I will put a link here at the description, and I'll also show you the site here. And in a minute, okay? Okay, MC, do you think it could be possible to do a sharp turn on a chronic illness? I am at peace, I feel joy and happiness. Would it be possible to get rid of the symptoms? First of all, it is possible. Again, my opinion. It is possible. I think that action is required, but in this case, the action has to be, you have to come up with something for yourself and for the universe, for the programmer. You have to come up with something that's like a plan for the future that justifies you being healthy, being in good shape, and living a long life. Okay? You have to come up with a reason that is powerful enough, like I said, not just for you, but also for the programmer, universe, call it whatever you like. If you can do that if you can take that action, then you will be able to control the symptoms and control the illness and control everything. Besides, like I don't know you, I don't know the circumstances, but if you acquired this problem because of being out of control or feeling out of control, and you would know that, then maybe the way out of it is to make sure that you feel in control. And what I said before will make you feel in control, because if I, for example, decide that I'm going to save the world from destroying itself, and I convince myself that I have the tools to do it, then I have a very good reason to live. And then I feel in control, right? So whatever illness I have is going to go away. Hey, Bruce. I read all your posts on Facebook. Quite an interesting person you are. So you remember, and you're asking how many people are remembering. Okay, well, I guess whatever that means, the people that need to understand will understand and reply. Thank you. Well, you know, it's just that sometimes I not sometimes, all the time, I put myself on the other side, like being the audience listening to me. And I'm very conservative that way, because I am also on the other side. So, you know, I don't want to, I have much higher standard for myself than for other people. Thank you. Here to 4. What does that mean? Here to 4. Okay. I always amazes me the different names people pick. And I always like to understand what it means and where it comes from. Do you have a technique you like to use, like picturing what's above, below the line, to help us balance what we are responsible to change on our behalf, and where to release control for it to be? You You know, that's probably the toughest question I got today and maybe in a long time. Because you see, over time, over the years, as I create videos and I do all this live and everything, there's many cases I contradict myself. And in 99% of the cases, you don't see it, but like I said, I am much more critical of myself than, than you are of me. And I find in many cases when I contradict myself. And, you know, why am I saying this is because I gave you, for example, the example where I was out of control with my car, and it was, you know, sliding, skipping on the ice, and I was going backwards with my car at, I don't know, 100 or 80 kilometers an hour, and I just let go. You know, I just let go of the steering wheel, I put my hands away, I took my feet away from the pedals, and I just sat there, and I basically at that point I passed the control to the programmer, right? Because there was absolutely nothing I could do. And you most of you probably know that story. It's in a couple of my videos. It's basically I lost control of the car. I was going downhill in the Rocky Mountains, and I hit black ice, and the car, you know, on the ice, turned around and was going backwards at very high speed. And both sides of the highway, like there was only 2 lanes. There were big logging trucks coming up, and the other side was no fence, no nothing. It was a cliff. And obviously I'm sitting here and talking to you means that I survived that one. But I did not try to control. I just passed it in this case, okay? The same thing like with that cougar. Like when I faced the cougar, I passed the control to the universe. Like there's nothing I could do. I shouted at the cougar, but, you know, I wasn't there anymore. So that's why I say I'm contradicting myself, because I said that you have to be in control, but in some situations, and that's why you brought a very, very strong question here, in some cases, you just pass it. And I think in my case, I did not do it intentionally. It just happened. Like I didn't really sit there and say, oh, you know, I'm passing control now. Hey, God, you know, here is the control. This is not what happened. What happened is that the universe, the programmer, made me basically do nothing and feel like I'm an observer. But it's not something I planned or I did it intentionally. It would be nice if I could, but, you know, it just happened. So I think maybe my answer would be, I'm thinking, trying to come up, because I didn't really answer that question, but I will answer that question. It just came to me. It will be the first time I have an answer for it. Thank you, Danielle. I would say that when needed, it will just happen. So when you are in a life-threatening situation, maybe because of your personality, maybe because of who you are, maybe because of what you did in the past. I don't know what are the causes for it. Maybe because you believe that you are God. The universe will take care of you. It will actually take away the control from you, will put you there as an observer, just like it happened to me with the car, and then it will fix the problem. So it's not in your hands. For this to happen, it has to happen by the initiative of the universe, not yours. I hope that it kind of satisfies me, so I hope it works for you too. Speaking of reading faces, when will you tell me what you got from my picture? When I get something from your picture. That's I will reply to that one, obviously, off this live, not right now. Let me just have a look here. Trying to get out of the... Okay. It's kind of tricky to move my cursor between the screens. Speaking of reading faces, that's good. You always have to have that hope. Look, you have the ability and you have everything that's needed to achieve it. And I know it sounds kind of redundant when I say you are the one blocking it from yourself, but you should be able to achieve it. Just be patient. Yeah, I know you told me about that one. Well, the way to get out of your failure loop is to not think that you are in one. Because as long as you think that you are in one, then you are in one. You know, I think it was Henry Ford that said if you say yes or you say no, you are right. Isabella, could you expand on your power to influence our reality? You talk about transurfing, reality being what we focus on, but also told us how we are alone here on earth, even if we are divine. The power to influence our reality is in our thoughts. There is absolutely nothing else that influences your reality but your thoughts. You know, you are where your thoughts are. So make sure your thoughts are where you want to be. The problem with that is that your thoughts are a product of your personality. And they usually will be the same thoughts because of your personality. The thoughts you don't control. You can control them for a minute, for 30 seconds, for maybe 2 minutes, but then they go back to their original stream, right? You don't control your thoughts. So in order to influence your reality, you have to get more control over your thoughts. And first of all, you have to decide what you want to think about, because wherever your attention is, this is what your reality is going to be. So you have to decide what you want to think about, okay? Put it down on paper. And then, you know, you have to, and I think I talked about it last time, maybe you put a reminder on your phone or your watch or something that beeps every 15 minutes or every half an hour to remind you that this is what you need to think about. And this is how you're going to change your reality or influence your reality. Because there's nothing else that can influence your reality but your thoughts. Because your thoughts bring the action. So here I'm not contradicting myself. I'm not saying that only by your thoughts you're going to change your reality. But your thoughts are the ones that create intention, and intention creates action, and action, you know, will change your reality. So try to break the pattern of your thoughts. Because up until now, you're thinking, always coming with the same thoughts, and you get the same reality. If you can break that, your reality will change. Okay? And it really, reality transurfing, all it says exactly the same thing, but it stretches over 700 pages, but it says exactly what I just told you. Okay. Captain Bleep, can you face read world leaders? Absolutely. I read them all as soon as I see them, and I actually get into their personality. I can see the world from their perspective as well. And I think I can influence them as well. Okay. One of my favorite manifesting techniques that you suggested, which was to live 15 minutes ahead of time, worked so well for me that now I live a day or two in the future. This has changed my life. Well, I hope everybody can see it. Now, remember, this is not to live like to live a place. What she's saying here is to live like life. Because the first time I read it, my mind, you know, just like with those Fs that I didn't show you. Maybe I'll show you those Fs in a minute. Count the Fs. Like the mind sees what it wants to see. And the first time I read it, It looked to me like leave 15 minutes ahead, like leave the house 15 minutes ahead. But when I continued, I realized that it's actually live with the L-I-V-E. Yeah, I will show you the thing with the Fs. I showed that in our group meeting, so if you were there, excuse me that I'm showing it again, but I think this is a good example to show people how their mind is showing us what the mind wants us to see, not what we really see. Can you recall which video it was? Which one? The one with the car? I will post it at the bottom later as when I finish the live. You know what I'm going to do when I finish the live? Usually I kind of sit and contemplate. Takes me like an hour or two before I can do anything. So today I decided instead of spending an hour or two recovering, I'll vacuum the house. Because the people that used to come here and clean, they went back home to their country and they will not be back until April. So they left in November and coming back in April. So I have to do it all by myself. Okay. Where would you put 110 million people? Well, you know, back in the 50s, 1956 or 57, I think it was, the top scientists and futurists and all these people said that at the early 60s, like 1962, 63, the world will run out of oil. Because at that time, with all the reserves, the known reserves and the consumption, they calculated that within 4-5 years, the world will run out of oil. And you know what? Now we are 70 years later, and there is more oil today than ever been, even though we consumed much more than those scientists predicted. So the same goes for this 110 billion people. You have to, you have to realize that this is virtual reality here. Anything can happen if you don't block it in your mind. Are there any books you would recommend anyone on this spiritual journey? You know, there is a book. I have to remember, I have to write it down. So I promised to the video about the car. I promised the King's story on my blog, and now books. Okay, so there is a book called, I think I mentioned it before. It's called Thoughts Are Things. And it was written back in the 1800s, so that's in the 19th century, by an English gentleman. And it's in some ways it's like reality transurfing, totally different style and different way of presenting it. And actually, he says in there, I like that that saying. He says that you don't slow down because you age, but you age because you slow down. That's in that book. So that book is called, like I said, Thoughts Are Things. And I will insert a link later here to Amazon or wherever. I think you can get it for free. So that's a book I would recommend. Other than that, you know, you don't really need books. Everything is on YouTube or Google today, and there's too much. So, you know, many of my clients, they spend lifetime reading all these books, hoping that in the next one they will find it's you know, books these days are like lottery tickets. You buy another one because you believe that this one you're going to win the lottery. And people do the same thing with books. They go reality transurfing. Oh, this one is going to, you know, solve my problems. I'll be able to manifest my, and then that they go into another one. Neville Goddard. Okay, this one is going to do it. Oh, for sure. And then the next one and next one. And you have to realize that you have to stop one day and you have to actually do something, because absorbing all these books doesn't take you anywhere. It just confuses you. you know. So not that I'm against books, but, overdoing it is not good. Okay, Danielle. My issue is I've always had more access to those other realities than this one. This one has been the bigger mystery for me. I know exactly what you are saying. Focus? Okay, we got focus. When you have a very good camera and a very good lens, then it tries to focus on you all the time, like very precisely, and sometimes it actually does the opposite. The thing is that this reality is the one that's physical. And because it's physical, and because we exist here in a physical body, this is the one that will always take over any other reality. And it's the hardest one to deal with, right? Because you cannot just think things and they will be over or happen or change. It's physical. So yeah, I know what you're saying, but this is what it is. Unless you figure out a way, when you access a different reality, how to influence this reality from there, then you will be a winner. And I think this is what you should do, because you have access to those, right? This is probably the way to deal with it. Hi, Solomon. My name in English is Solomon. Yeah, actually in my passport I put Solomon because when I was going to Israel with Shlomo in my Canadian passport, they wouldn't let me in. They wanted me to have an Israeli passport because there is no Shlomo that doesn't have an Israeli passport. So I changed my name to Solomon in my... Today I don't do it anymore, but those days. Thank you. And by the way, Shlomo doesn't have a C. This is an English thing that people like to insert a C in there. Again, it's the brain tells us that this is how it should be. And I have to remember, I have to show you two things here. Show you the F's and that blog website. So, okay, thank you. I didn't mean you are scary, and yes, introvert, hints, want to hide. Yeah. Are we having a group meeting today? No. Next week, I set it up to start with every 2 weeks. So I'll send you an invitation. Don't worry. And this time it will, I already sent the links again. This time it will be the right link. I apologize for all of you that got the wrong link for the meeting last time. I have absolutely no clue how that happened. I still cannot figure out because I took it from the right place at Zoom and it was the wrong link. Anyway, it is what it is. I felt in control when I sent it to you, but I wasn't really. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Danielle. What is my favorite food? When I'm hungry, all food is favorite for me. But it's a good question. I never thought about it. I like good. I would say that, and not necessarily that's what I eat all the time, but I like a good steak. I would like, taste-wise. I like good fresh fruit, not genetically modified or like really natural good food, which is very hard to fruit. Which is very hard to get today, and vegetables. I like chocolate. That's probably my biggest, if you call it food. I really like good chocolate. And I like fish. Actually, I love fish. I like halibut. And yeah. And that's that. Actually, I like everything. I like Italian food. I like pasta. You know what? I like good food. Anything that's good food, I like it. It's a good question. I never thought about it. I just eat when I'm hungry. But obviously, I buy the food I like. Up to this time, therefore, unimaginable possibilities. Tell you now that we have heard for keep secret from you. Okay. Okay, that explains it. Up until now. Okay, is it going to change from now? I've been working on this, switching to observe the release control and allow it to be better than any pendulums. I haven't cleared the and maybe closed that. Well, you know, this is your internal work. Yeah, everything is possible. We are coming up to something important, all of us. Like I said, that one that I talked about before, the thoughts are things. I would say start with that one. Very good one. There you go, Daniel. Thank you. Yeah, I know. I got it for free too. I think on Kindle. Chocolate is food. Okay, 100,000%, or is it 1,000,000%? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's 1,000,000%. Wow. All right, so I'm going to show you now those two things I wanted to show you. Just give me a minute. So first I'll show you this one. I'll give you 1 minute. Tell me how many Fs you see in this. Finished files are, okay? Count the Fs, like Frank, F. How many Fs do you see? And I'll put a timer on here and give you 1 minute. Here, my timer is running. And put in the comments how many Fs you see. Okay, it's 40 seconds. Okay, 55 seconds. All right, let's call it a minute. So let me come back here. And now tell me how many Fs you saw in that sentence. Okay, there's one more comment here that I think I didn't show. And I want to thank you, Armand. Crazy part is some of the things you're telling I thought is so, but was not sure about myself. You are a happy guy. Very smart. I'm looking at your picture. All right. Okay, the next thing, while you are posting here how many you counted, I will show you that blog site I have. It's called analysisofexistence.com. Analysisofexistence.com. And let's see if I can bring it up here. Yeah, that's the website. Let me enable scrolling it. So you see there is here at the center, you can see there it says The King and the Nations, a modern day prophecy. So if you read this one, I also have it in Hebrew on the left here, you see it's the same story. And if you read this one, here I'll click on it. So this is the story. And this basically explains how God is asleep or was asleep, how he comes out, the reasons for it, what he experienced, what he didn't experience. Like the whole story it's a metaphoric thing. It's not that long. It's only like one page, I think. But this is on that analysisofexistence.com, and I'll put the link to it. Now, how do I go back? There. I can even go back. Amazing. So you see there is you and me changing the world. No, actually, this is the Hebrew one. Right here on the right. And then there is From Nothingness to Infinity and Everything in Between, preface. What is the most precious resource? And it's not water, religion and me. Anyway, there is like close to 100 probably, or 50, I don't know, articles that I wrote over the years. I don't write lately except that King story, which I did write recently. Okay, let's come back to you and see if you have any answers here. Very good, very good. There is actually 6. But yeah, many of you see 3 and see 4. I don't see any 5s here. But the point of it is that, you know, the first time I looked at it, because somebody else showed that to me, I found only 3. And what it tells us, right, it teaches us that our mind, our brain, whatever it is, makes many, many shortcuts and assumptions and feeds us with those assumptions because it doesn't have time. You know, people would say it's because of evolution. We didn't have time. You know, we needed to make quick decisions when we're attacked by animals or whatever. So the brain kind of skips many things and brings to us into the inner core only what it thinks it's important. And when it looks at those things, it skips many of those off, OF, and we don't see it because it repeats itself. So the mind just takes them out. You know, this is how compression works, like the way they compress video, the MP4, or even audio, the MP3, whatever it's called, right? The way it compresses the audio and the video is whenever there is a repeat scene, it doesn't put it in the code, it takes it out. And then at the end, it says, oh, there were 7 repeat scenes, instead of actually putting the repeat scenes in there. And this is, the mind does exactly the same thing. It compresses everything we see and gives us a compressed picture. And why it's important to realize is because many times you think that you are right, but you are not right. You are wrong because your mind is fooling you. So we should actually think twice or 3 or 4 times before we say to somebody, oh, no, you're wrong. This is not the right thing, because we don't see the right thing. All right, let me go back to my notes here, see if I missed anything important that I need to tell you. Okay. No, I think that we are good. I don't have anything about the environment today. I just, you know, I don't feel good about the environment, not because of us humans, but because of the animals, because of the wildlife, because, you know, same as God, we believe that God looks after humanity, or at least many people believe that God looks after people. We people are actually the God to the animals, to the wildlife. We are their God. We can decide their fate, and we do. And unfortunately, we don't do such a great job, and that's why I feel the environment, the whole environmental aspect bothers me for the animals, not for the people, as strange as it may seem, right? Because I feel that they are not in control. We are the God, and here we are, you know, torturing and destroying them. So, yeah. All right. Let me just bring the comments back, make sure that there's nothing here that I missed. Yeah, it's only 2. Yeah, no, that's, like I said, that's only 3 for a while. And then when I started to see people saying 4, 5, 6, I went back and then I saw 6. Okay, my dear friends, in the comments down here, in the description, I put again the link to register for our focus group. So I can send you a link for it. It will be next Sunday on the 9th, I think it's the 19th, at 12:30 Pacific Standard Time, which is my time. And what else? Yeah, and I will see you on the live next Sunday, same time. See what topic I can never tell you what topic it will be, because the topic comes to me usually on Saturdays the day before. Like I don't know what I'm going to talk about until at least Saturday, sometimes even Sunday morning. But it's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be with you here. And yeah. Yeah, and my free will right now, I'm going to say goodbye to you and bless you with all the best, like all the very best that can be, let it be for all of you. Take care. Bye.